sinking fund for debt repayment. When they exhausted the sinking fund, they abandoned it and didn't put any money there again. So all the $3 billion they used to go and borrow $3 billion every year, they didn't spare a mind to put at least a bit in the sinking fund so that they could use it to pay off some of the urgent debts that were accumulating. Then we also left money in the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, $270 million, I remember. They came and just used it. We left money in the stabilization fund. That's what bailed them out in the COVID period, when there was no money anywhere and government didn't have a budget to handle COVID. We told them, look in the stabilization fund. That is what it was meant for, emergencies like this.
And some be enam social media, trendy, but yadi na Papa John Dramani Mahama. Interview be abusam. I know a day, but already we are na interview no osi echere I just say me say oman panyi die no say be enye easy akonya no di a onfa ho totoroto sa according to John Dramani Mahama ne sama oka no me pese odu an be di video na chi na ya akwohwe video no na oso ati nsema John Dramani Mahama eka aha quality media network so nya subscribe ya me so say others have a subscriber to no share, I like it, I comment it. And I said the brother, and they are for to my husband, at me at the Binoir. I am quite now in summer. John Dramani Mahama Eka.
Buffers did not exist, they had misused them. And then they had pushed our public debt from 120 billion to 577 billion. And so we had cautioned them in 2019. I criticized the Minister of Finance. Our minority criticized him for the rate at which he was borrowing and said that, look, if we don't do something about it, we'll face a debt crisis in the future. The records are all there. If you look at it, you'll find it. But apart from that, this Minister of Finance was doing something that I would say is criminal, because he presents the budget statement and then their liabilities he knows are public liabilities. And yet he doesn't factor them into the budget. So the banking sector clean out, you say it cost you 22 billion. So it meant that government had to pay depositors 22 billion. Whose liability is it? He says no, there are receivers who are chasing people who owe the banks. And so we'll use that money to pay the depositors. But I mean, how much have the receivers been able to collect? I don't think they've collected even more than 1 billion CDs. And yet government has guaranteed all deposits and so have put the deposits of those people's accounts into CBG and has paid them. And so it is a government liability. ESLA, we introduced ESLA. It started in October and then they took it over in January. The inflows that ESLA was supposed to receive to pay off legacy energy sector debt and petroleum sector debt, they created an SPV, a special purpose vehicle, like a company. And then they made the company borrow money against the ESLA revenues. So now a lot of the ESLA revenues are collateralized, they're encumbered, because they've taken that money and they've spent it. And so that also is a liability. Who owns ESLA SPV? Government of Ghana. Then energy sector debt to IPPs. Today, I hear they owe them almost 1.8 billion. But at that time, they owed them over 1 billion. So all these debts, including GET Fund, the collateralized GET Fund for about $1.5 billion, all these debts he puts as appendixes in the budget, but does not factor them into his accounting numbers. And so when he tells you he has a budget deficit of less than 5%, he's actually deceiving you. And he was doing that to create a better picture so that he could borrow more money off the market. About the issues of conflict of interest, his own bank being the broker and all that. I mean, those are all ethical issues that are clear to anybody.
Yeah. How does that make you feel then about this? Because sometimes I reverse things. And some of these things that you're talking about that happened under the NPP, if it was the NDC in power, what kind of opposition do you think we would have expected from them? Was the opposition a bit too laid back? Because you are naming all these things and they happened in the glaring eyes of all Ghanaians and the recognized opposition. And For example, people are saying, they were accusing you. I said, John should be up and shaking things.
Actually, this government has had an easy pass when it comes to issues of governance. Because if I did 1/10 of what they have done these last 8 years, I'm sure that I would have been pilloried and crucified on a cross by now, but it's also partly, there's a bit of hypocrisy in it, There were a lot of people who were very vocal, not necessarily the opposition alone. There were clergymen, there were media people who won't give us any breathing space, and of course the MPP as a party also added theirs. And then they had organizations like Occupy Ghana, which are civil society organizations that were also breathing down our neck. And so this trio symphony orchestra of people kept up such a cacophony about us, a lot of it based on misinformation. But they did it to deadly effect. And so if it was us that did 1/10 of this, I'm sure that we would have been pilloried. Right now, a lot of them give them an easy pass because I do think that some of them are ashamed, and some of them probably have an inclination or a soft spot for the MPP. And so when MPP is in government, anything can pass. But when it's another party in government, then suddenly they find their voices and start speaking. And
so let's imagine for some reason John Mahama is returned to power and the NDC in power, and these same voices that you're saying were very loud under your regime now come back out loud again. How would you react?
Well, I don't mind. I'll welcome it because...
You welcome it?
Yeah, it makes us perform better. All that criticism actually encouraged me to do better. For instance, take the doom song. All the noise about doom song. I went to Parliament and I said, yes, I take responsibility for it. I'm going to work day and night to fix this problem. And it occupied most of my time. And eventually we fixed it. In 2016 January, we cancelled the load shedding. So there was no more rationing of power. So the whole of 2016, nobody had any load shedding based on any schedule, And so criticism helps you be a better person if it's constructive. A lot of it was destructive, but it doesn't matter. It's still criticism. It makes you want to prove your critics wrong by doing even better. Why Nanado has performed so abysmally is that he got an easy pass, and they develop a certain sense of impunity, and they believe that whatever they do, nobody is going to talk. And so it makes them do the kind of things. It makes the society numb to all the scandals, because every week there's a scandal. And so people get fed up of talking about it and say, look, there's nothing you're going to say that will change this Nanado Bawumia administration, so just leave it. It's 1.5 years to election. Let's just bear it out and wait it out. But that's the beauty of democracy, that you get the opportunity to change governments at a point in time, and I think that people are just waiting to take their time and go to the voting booths.
People would have thought the same for the last election that day. There's no way on earth, the way Ghana has gone to, that anybody would consider giving 4 more to Ghana. But people went to the booth and came out like there.
That is because Ghanaians have a conception that 4 years is not enough to see where government is taking things. And so even though we're raising the red flag and saying that, look, they're mismanaging the economy, there's going to be a crisis ahead and all that, Ghanaians were willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. And that's how come they say, okay, let's give him another 4 years and let's see, he probably will do better. But our worst fears have been realized with what has just happened. Because by 2020, they knew the economy was in crisis. The economy was in crisis before 2020.
I'll get back to that, but let me ask this question here in terms of Ghanaians have been saying, and you actually implied it when you said that we have the mentality that each party is entitled to 8 years. Okay? So, in a way, it even affected you, because even though it was your second term, it was the 8 years
of
NDC.
NDC.
So they wouldn't. What would happen if MPP in fact breaks the 8, how would you react?
So there'll be a breaking of the 8, but it will be a breaking of 8 years of corruption, 8 years of arrogance, 8 years of impunity. That's what's going to break 8. So there'll be a breaking of the 8. Ghanaians are going to break that 8.
You're very, very sure.
Oh, there'll be a breaking of the 8.
Yeah.
But the breaking of the 8 is going to be the breaking of the maladministration that Ghanaians have been through these last 8 years. It's going to break. There's going to be a new dawn.
What's your confidence level?
I'm highly confident. Since I ran for the primaries, it gave me the opportunity to go around the country, and it has put me in the position to get to know the challenges that Ghanaians are handling. And speaking to farmers, to taxi drivers, to market women, to everybody. I mean, they are at the stage where a last straw will just break their backs.
You did a similar tour though, 2020.
20.
Yeah, 2020. Listening tour, I think that's what it was called.
Yeah,
and you went around.
It was called a speak out.
Yeah, speak out.
We call it speak out.
Okay.
That was to do with our manifesto. We wanted to incorporate the thinking of the people in our manifesto. And so we said, look, we're going to write our manifesto in a different way. We're not just going to get a few technocrats to sit and write our manifesto. We're going to go around and listen to the people. So we went to all the regions and listened to all the people. And Ghana varies in many ways. You go to some region and it's more about agriculture. You go to another region, the issues are about mining and galamsey and things. You go to another place and it's about markets and commerce and things like that. If you go to Techiman, it's the biggest market in Ghana. It's about markets and trading and commerce and all that. You go to another place and the challenges are about roads. Western region and Western North. Roads are their main thing, you know. And so we said, look, let's go listen to everybody. We listened to Guta, we met with Abosokai, spare parts dealers, we met with Ghana Bar Association, everybody. And then we crystallized all that into the People's Manifesto. And that is the manifesto we ran on in 2020. So that tour was called the Speak Out Tour.
Okay.
But it was meant to input into our manifesto. But this was to do with the primaries. And this was meeting mainly our party people. But in many places, the townspeople will not allow only our party people to attend. They force their ways into the venue and say they are all involved in this matter. You can't call just your 9-member executive and come and talk to them. We also want to be part of this. We want to be heard. And so in many places, the townspeople turn it into a rally. And you interact with them and you hear their concerns. Cocoa farmers are concerned about the cocoa industry, the poor producer price. And so if you notice, I called on government to increase the producer price because our policy is that you must pay the farmer 70% of the international market price. Right now, they're paying them far less than even 50% of the international market price, you know. So issues like that, you know, have come up.
I like the point you raised. I want to go back to it again. Entitlement, you know, that Ghanaians are saying that the parties now believe that each party is entitled to 8 years. Okay, whether they perform well or not, they have not finished their 8 years. With this mentality, do you believe that Ghanaians have the mentality of entitlement?
Well, it's not about entitlement. It is that when a president is elected, Ghanaians believe that a 4-year period is not enough. So they are willing to wait and see another 4 years and see what the person can do. The peculiarity is just that Professor Mills died. And then I took over as president. You know, otherwise, Professor Mills would have done that second term.
Yeah.
I ran in 2012 because Professor Mills died. He should have run in 2012. And then if I would have run, I would have run in 2016. That's at the end of his term. So I don't think there's a sense of entitlement. That's that Ghanaians are willing to give a party an opportunity, you know, beyond the 4 years. And normally after they have given the opportunity beyond the 4 years, they begin to believe that, no, we want to change, we want to see something else, you know. And so that's what it's been.
Yeah.
But it can be a sense of entitlement, yeah.
Okay. But the discussion of late has been each party is that they are taking turns. NDC, MPP, NDC, you know. So at the end of the day, what they are saying is that all of them are the same. How do you react to the all of them are the same thing, which seems to be creeping into the language these days?
It's MPP propaganda. It's a propaganda of the MPP. They are in their mess, and they want to draw everybody else into the same mess. You've messed the country up. Not all politicians are the same, but they're happy to push that mantra and make it look like, oh, whether NDC comes or MPP comes, you're better off staying with us, because if NDC comes, it will be the same. That is the psychology of the propaganda they are doing. It's not the same. Our party has a track record. We have given more Ghanaians electricity than any party in the history of this country. Rawlings started the National Electrification Program and the Rural Electrification Program, which has brought Ghana to above 80% electricity coverage, among the top 10 in Africa. We started the digital revolution in this country. I was Minister of Communications when we divided post and telecommunications and created Ghana Telecom and allowed Space Phone and all the mobile operators to come in. We started laying optic fiber in this country, did the Eastern Corridor optic fiber. And so that whole digital revolution started in our time. We've given more Ghanaians water than any party in the history of this country. When Prof came into office, water coverage was 55%. By the time I left office, water coverage was 72%. 72% of Ghanaians had access to good drinking water. We have built all the public universities in this country. MPP hasn't built one public university. They're just good at renaming them with their, party figures. And so somebody builds a university, you come and name it Dumbo University, Tedam University, all your people. If you look at basic education and secondary education, we built more secondary schools in this country than any other political party. We built more basic education facilities than any other party. We give children textbooks. For 5 years, MPP cannot give basic school children textbooks. And so there's a lot that our party has done to improve the prosperity and welfare of Ghanaians. And so don't let them come tell us we and them are the same. We're not the same. They should just wallow in their mess and leave us alone.
Wallowing in their mess and leave us alone.
Yeah, they've created a crisis for Ghanaians. Just take responsibility for it and just not try to drag us into this whole thing.
I was listening again, in terms of the breaking the 8 issue, and I think it was the vice president. I said, oh, Mahama, we beat him before and we'll beat him again. Have you heard him say that? Did you hear the statement?
Well, I didn't hear him say, but I read it.
Okay.
In this thing. He says he knows how to beat me. And
yeah, he knows how
he's beaten me before. That's what I saw, that he's beaten me before.
And
he knows how to beat. He's beaten me twice, and he knows how to beat me again. But I've never run against him. His face has never been on a presidential ballot paper. So how can you say you've beaten me? I've never run against you as a candidate. It's Nanado I ran against in 2012. I beat him. And then in 2016, he won. 2020, he won. So even between Nanado and I've won once. He's won twice. It's just that he's not going to run again. But I'm sure if he was running again, I would have equalized and, taken him out of office. So just tell Vice President Bambia, his face has never, ever been
on the books,
on a presidential ballot paper. And so he should just erase that. He knows how to beat me. He's never run against me.
Okay.
It's the same thing when I was in office. I mean, he just kept waxing about, giving lectures about how he was going to handle the economy, how we're incompetent and all that. And I said, look, you've never been in office, you and your presidential candidate. No party got 50% plus, and President Mills got elected on a second round. So it won't be the first time. They've always been smaller parties that take some 1 point something percentage points. And so the lead runner gets like 48 point something. And so that 1 point something percentage points that the little parties took, if you added it to the lead runner, they probably would have crossed the 50%. So we've always had that possibility, yeah. But I think what people are looking at the Nigerian example when Peter Obi moved to National Labour Party. Now let me explain what happened in Nigeria. Peter Obi was Atiku's running mate in 2019, in the 2019 election. In 2023, I don't know the dynamics, But one would have thought that they would pair together again, to run, because Buhari was leaving, and APC was having to bring a new person who turned out to be Tinubu. Now, instead of pairing together, they decided to go their separate ways. So Peter Obi joined the National Labour Party, and he took a lot of constituencies that belonged to the PDP before. So he had left the PDP, it was a breakaway from the PDP, and the PDP used to win the Southeast. National Labour Party, because of Peter Obi, won the Southeast. He won the urban areas like Lagos and other places, and then a lot of states that PDP used to win, he took votes away from them. Nigeria is different because Nigeria does not have 50% plus. You must get a certain percentage of a certain number of states. And so what happened was, National Labour Party and PDP, if you add their votes together, it comes to almost 13 million votes. And Tinubu won with 8-point-something million votes, or 9-point-something million votes. And so they have a completely different system, but in Ghana, sometimes elections go into second rounds. And it's a bit difficult to run as an independent, as an individual, because you need to mop up constituencies. And the thing with the political parties is they have the structures on the ground. And so maybe a third force could come, which would be a party that would so energize a certain segment of the society that they can threaten to win or throw it into a second round and become the kingmakers, if it does go into a second round. And so there's always a possibility of anything,
Okay. I want to move into a different, not totally different, but focus on you as JM or His Excellency.
What else is there to know about me? I've been in the public eye for
a long time.
God knows something.
Yeah, questions that people ask sometimes. and listen to this, you're assemblyman to deputy minister, to minister, to vice president, to president. You have done it all.
Yeah.
And especially in Ghana, where you were vilified like there was no tomorrow.
Yeah.
And every person would have said, I've done my bit. Like you said, posterity will judge my time. What is it in there that make you decide that, no, I want to be in the race? So I say, Mahama or Abi, I'm going to make a cry. From assemblyman to president, they didn't build. What else is he going to do? I want you to answer that question.
Yeah. First, do I infringe the Constitution if I run for a second term? I'm entitled to a second term. Does it infringe the Constitution? It doesn't. So I don't see where there's a problem there. Then the second thing is, I could. The easiest thing for me to do would be to take a rest and just walk away and do other things. I'm passionate about a lot of things. I like agriculture, I like to farm. And so it would be nice if you came and visited me on my farm in Yape or Bunsunu. We sit under a tree, they roast some guinea fowls for us.
Some pito.
And if you want pito, I could order it. So that would have been the easiest thing for me to do. But when you are a person that God has blessed and your country has given you so much, then you don't want to withhold whatever you have from your country. I am a person who went to school in Ghana. I went to University of Ghana at a time when they actually paid us for going to university. We received we used to call it payee, and it was a weekly payment that we used to receive, And so my country educated me, and I got the opportunity to serve as a member of parliament for 12 years. And so I understand the legislature, I understand the standing orders of parliament and everything. I got the opportunity to serve in ministerial positions in the telecom space. I got the opportunity to be an opposition MP when Kufuor was president. And so I know how it is to advocate on the opposition side. And I became vice president and became president for one term.
Yeah.
My party needs my services. I didn't say endorse me. I said, if it's your wish that I run, elect me And the experience that I've garnered, I'll put at the service of my party and my country. And my party elected me. And so the next thing is for Ghanaians to make a decision. I'm not imposing myself, I'm offering myself for elections. And if Ghanaians think that the experience and expertise I have in this time of crisis can turn things around, yes, I'm available to do it. And there are times when generals have been called from retirement to come back because their nations are in battle. We're in battle this time. The mess into which this administration has plunged this country, it needs all qualified people in Ghana to be able to do it. And I keep telling them, you can't do it alone because you don't have all the intelligence and experience in your heads. You need every Ghanaian to be able to succeed. And that's why in my time, I didn't behave like I knew it all. When we were facing economic crisis, I called the Senchi Forum. And we called people of all walks of life. Everybody came and talked. PV Obing of blessed memory, Kwesi Botwe of blessed memory, all of them helped to synthesize that report into eventually what we took as the homegrown fiscal consolidation to the IMF and got a program which helped to stabilize the economy, and we handed over to this new administration. And so, yes, we have offered ourselves for service, and when I come into office, we're going to go by consensus. The first thing we'll do is a stakeholder will show Ghanaians the books and show them what the actual economic figures are and show them the challenges that we face as a nation. And we'll get everybody involved and help for us to lift it out. We'll look at this free SHS again and then see what the...
I was going to ask that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so ask it.
Yeah. You've answered it. No, but I was going to ask you, among the things that you have said you're going to do is to review.
Yes, review.
What goes into that review? What exactly are you going to do when you review it? Are you going to review it and keep it, change it, dismantle it?
I'll tell you, KSM, that is part of the propaganda they used in 2020. They told Ghanaians that if I come, I'll cancel free SHS. That was their main campaign message. If he comes, he's going to cancel free SHS. He's going to cancel free SHS. And so, of course, for those who wanted to hedge and say, look, we'll even give you the opportunity to come so that you cancel it. But I said, review. Good policy, poor implementation. And if you ask all the headmasters and all the stakeholders in the education space, they'll tell you that the implementation has been very poor. And so all I told the president was that call all the stakeholders together. Bring the academics, bring the teachers, bring the educationists, bring the students, bring their parents and everybody together and say what are the challenges that we face with this free SHS. They'll tell you in terms of facilities, in terms of feeding, access to good nutrition, in terms of classroom blocks, accommodation. They'll tell you about lack of access to books and other things, poor teacher motivation. I mean, there's so many things that will come up. And apart from that, even in their agreement with the World Bank, they agree in the World Bank that they're going to implement that the SHS, free SHS, was poorly targeted, because you want to make sure that the best of benefits go to the poorest. And so if people like me were taking out, people like you were taking out, because you can afford to pay your child's school fees. In school, if people like us were taking out, it will leave more money to benefit the rural poor and the others who really need it. But right now, if you want to pay your child's school fees, there's no mechanism for paying your child's school fees. And so it says retarget it and make sure that you're covering the poorest secondary schools, the poorest families, and then take people like KSM and John Mahama out, and tell us we can pay our full fees. That would even help the schools in a way. When your grant hasn't come, at least our monies would have come. You tell us to pay before our children go. And so you use it for the rest of the children while you wait for government to bring its money. So when I say review, which, President Akufo-Addo said means abolish, in his lexicon, review means abolish, then they use that as propaganda. But right now they've agreed as part of the IMF terms that they're going to look at free SHS again, exactly what I was telling them. So it's taking them almost 4 years to come to that conclusion.
Another thing too that I've heard you talk about is the ex gratia. And when it comes to ex gratia, I always tease that that's the only time you can get bipartisan agreement. You know, if there's ex gratia, whether NDC, MPP, CVP, we all agree on ex gratia.
Any nsɛm a kyerɛ sɛ ɛtrɛnde ɛwɔ abɛɛfo ntentafidie no so paa. Wotie nsɛm a John Dramani Mahama esi ekyirɛ mu na wotumi sɛ ɛyɛ president die no sɛbi ɛna fam ɛnyɛ ahogoro so koraa because wotie ne nsɛm no a wosi ekyirɛkyirɛ mu na ano ɛden yie paa. Mɛpɛ sɛ wonya subscribe a wodɔn sɛ abɛbɔ subscribe button no a like ahyɛ a comment ɛde ama yɛ sɛdeɛ anytime biara de bi tuma wɔso nsa atumi aka bi ɛde ambegye so ɛde quality wantumi nka bi ma akra mo da sɛ ne ebɛhyia